Hey guys, Mike here. So today I'm here to talk to you about Project Power. In this review I'll be going over a brief summary of the plot, my quick thoughts about the film and whether or not you guys should go and see it. So I'm going to try and keep this review spoiler free. However, if you don't know anything about the film and you want to go in completely blind, then it's just come back to this video once you've seen the film. So with that, let's get started, shall we?
You need anything else?
No, I'm fine.
Yes, you are.
So Project Power stars Jamie Foxx as Art and Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Frank. In Project Power, when a pill that gives its users unpredictable powers for 5 minutes hits the streets of New Orleans, a teenage dealer and a local cop must team up with an ex-Marine to try and stop the people who are orchestrating all these events. And so we have Project Power. So guys, didn't really know much about this one going into it. All I knew is that Jamie Foxx was in it, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in it, and that it had something to do with superpowers. Beyond that, no idea. So with really no expectations going into this, what did I think of Project Power? Well, I gotta say, I did like the setup for this film. Granted, I don't think it was the most original of premises. Not that it's super generic, but I've seen things do this similar concept. Honestly, much better. Honestly, even with a concept that's kind of been done before, it all comes down to the execution. Can they bring something new to the table that will make this stand out from the herd? And honestly, I don't think it really did. Now, don't get me wrong, there are certainly things to like about this film. First of all, Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is really good in this. Not exactly his most standout performances, but it's pretty much up to a decent enough standard that you can say that Jamie Foxx is good in this. Honestly, the person who stood out most to me was Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character. The way he cleverly manages to get out of most situations that he gets himself into, honestly in ways that I probably actually couldn't have predicted. And the fact as well, he's not a perfect character, mainly because of the fact that he's trying to get these pills off the streets, but at the same time, he's taking the pills in order to level the playing field. So while you can argue about the ethics of doing this, it does make him a somewhat interesting character. Definitely I'd say more so than Jamie Foxx's character. Because while, like I said, he was a good character, his motivation was just, I've got to get my daughter back. Seen it a million times before, and in this case, it's not really done in any kind of interesting way. Basically, it comes down to you really caring about these characters. And honestly, I just don't think I really did. Though I wasn't really bored with this movie or thinking that it was particularly terrible, it just wasn't really sucking me in. At no point was I on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen next, thinking, oh my god, this could go wrong at any second. Honestly, I just kind of felt really lukewarm about this entire experience. I think it probably would have been much better had Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's characters spent more time together, because it did look like they were building up to a somewhat interesting relationship that had fairly decent chemistry. But because they spend most of the film apart and they have basically nothing to do with each other, and when they do get together, they eventually kind of separate and kind of do their own thing, there's not really much of a chance for them to build up a relationship together. It kind of boils down to, you help me to save my daughter, I'll help protect your city. That's really it. They have a common goal. I mean, it's a good motivation, but it's not exactly the most dynamic, original, or something that you could really heavily invest in. What little comedy there was fairly decently done. I mean, the comedy in Project Power isn't something that it heavily leans on, but there's a bit of it, and it's done fairly decently. It's pretty much that kind of quippy, back and forth kind of humour, where someone says something and they have a witty response to it. And that's pretty much where all the comedy comes from. And then you have the action. Normally, in movies like this, the action, for me, is what makes or breaks it. Even if it's honestly the most lame, uninteresting of scripts, if it can have at least one interesting fight scene, then I've had a fairly decent time watching it. But unfortunately, like pretty much everything else in this movie, the action is just mediocre. It's not exactly like Bourne, Equalizer, or Taken Bad. It's just really unimaginative and just uninteresting to watch. It's not 100% shaky cam where you can't see what's going on, but it's not exactly presented in a very interesting or clear-cut way. Don't get me wrong, I could see everything that was going on, but it didn't really make me want to pay attention to everything that was going on. And if the presentation wasn't enough, the actual fights themselves weren't that creative. Granted, the superpowered henchmen, they had quite interesting powers, and they used those fairly decently, though I feel they could have emphasized these amazing powers if the choreography and the way it was presented was much better. But at the end of the day, mediocre presentation presents mediocre fight scenes. But basically, throughout the film as well, they were building up that Jamie Foxx's power was really dangerous, really amazing. And with all that kind of hype and expectation going into it, it would really have to blow you away. And while the power does blow people away, it's not exactly anything super amazing or anything we haven't seen before. I don't want to say what it is, but if you've seen the trailer, then you know what it is. I mean, I didn't watch the trailer before watching this one, but I saw a little snippet of the trailer after watching the movie, and it would pretty much just giving away the whole surprise of the power. So if you've watched the trailer before watching this movie, one of the biggest scenes have been spoiled for you already. I mean, that's just the thing with trailers, it's why I don't watch them, because they just give too much away. Though trailers do have a necessity, it's just I personally don't watch them because of reasons like this. Overall, guys, there's not really much I can say about Project Power. I didn't have the most amazing of expectations going into it, but I gotta say I was thoroughly underwhelmed with what I got. The characters were fine, the CGI was good, the powers were somewhat creative, but the actual storytelling and pacing and pretty much everything else around this movie was just uninteresting. But do I think you guys should watch this one? Honestly, no, I actually wouldn't recommend watching this one. Though at the same time, like I said, it's not terrible. I wouldn't say avoid it at all costs. It's just I would not give my recommendation for this one. Okay guys, that's my review of Project Power. If you've seen it, what did you think about it? And what's your favourite street level superpowered film? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!